everyone. Thank you so much for coming and for being here. My name's Imogen Downes. I'm a writer, and I'm here to read to you from my new pamphlet that's just come out called We Are Animals, Don't Forget It. And it's my very first time reading from it. Haven't even had the official launch yet, so this is really lovely to be here and share some of these poems with you. Thank you for being here. I wrote this last year, during the lockdowns actually, sort of between like April and July. And I started off writing it because lockdown happened and there wasn't much else to do. And April is also National Poetry Writing Month. I don't know if anyone has ever participated in that or knows about it. And I've never managed to fully immerse myself in it before. Felt like I was too busy and had too much other stuff going on. And I thought, I'm going to actually properly sit down and do this year, and I'm going to write a poem every single day in April. And for the first time ever, I think because of the sort of stillness of lockdown, I felt like I was sort of writing for myself rather than writing for an audience and for other people. I come from a theatre background, so I'm really I've always approached writing with how I think it might look in performance and how an audience will receive it. And suddenly I was like, maybe no one will ever read this, and that's totally fine, and I'm just gonna put pen to paper and see what happens. And I found it so liberating, and it really kind of just allowed me to really capture a moment in time for me that was very personal, and felt really good. And then I got to the end of the month and I was like, damn, I got 30 poems here. I could do something with these. So I sort of looked through them and spent a lot of time working on them and editing them. And there's 17 poems in here, and 15 of them I wrote in April last year. So yeah, as I said, it really captures a moment in time for me. And I think that moment is, on reflection, is kind of about like growing up and becoming an adult, becoming a woman, I suppose. And I know I've definitely not stopped growing up yet, but it felt like a real like transitional time for me, and I think that's what these poems really capture. So with that in mind, I'll crack into the first poem. And this is a poem called 21. I'm 23 now, but during lockdown last year I was 21. So this is a kind of a reflection on that. 21. Adele has an album called 21. She released a new song actually, didn't she, yesterday? Anyone listened to it yet? Is it good? Yeah. Check that one out. Look at me, on topic, on theme. Adele has an album called 21. All of her albums are named after the age she was when she released them. So, Rolling in the Deep, Set Fire to the Rain, and Someone Like You all appear on 21. Shit. On my 21st birthday, I woke up in a beachfront cabin in Thailand. It had been planned for months. The ultimate blowout for the big 2-1. There'd be sunrise strolls along the sand, paddleboarding in the diamond waves, bubbly jacuzzi baths, and poolside pina coladas. It was going to be perfection. It was going to be perfection. When I got there, I expectantly waited for euphoria to kick in. I waited and waited, and incessantly noticed each grain of sand out of place, each wave too salty. I've been told that this is the prime of my life, and I couldn't complain if it was, but I hope they're wrong, and that I will mature in richness like a wine or cheese or a tree, that my prime will not be raucous hedonism, but quiet wisdom. Some people tell me I will lose hope as I get older. Some also say you grow to be more peaceful. Maybe the two go hand in hand. Thank you. Thank you. I was like so worried when I was writing that, when I put it in here, that I was going to come across as a really like spoilt brat, being like, I woke up in Thailand and it wasn't perfect. That was not what I was trying to say though. That was so not what I was trying to say. I was like so lucky in 2019, so the year before last, that I was able to go on a trip for 5 months. I went traveling and I was absolutely loved it, and it was something that I'd always wanted to do, so I like worked really hard to save up and go away, and I just had the best time. And I decided to go. I went by myself for the most part. My partner joined me for a couple of months, but for the most part I was there by myself, and I think part of the reason why I wanted to go by myself is because I'm a real extrovert, and I struggle spending time by myself, and I wanted to kind of learn how to do that. But you do, obviously, you meet loads of people whilst you're there who are in the same boat, who are also travelling around by themselves, and you kind of naturally buddy up. And it's so interesting because it's such an intense relationships that you form with these people, because you're suddenly like, you've never met each other before, and then suddenly you're living together and eating every single meal together, and maybe you're going on day trips together, and you're just with them all the time, and maybe it only lasts for 24 hours, or maybe you stick together for like 2 weeks. But in that time, you really have to put your trust in them, because they're the only people there that have got your back, and they have to do the same with you. So it really creates these really unusual relationships, which is amazing at the same time, though, to experience. And about 3 weeks into my trip, no, longer than that, yeah, 3 or 4 weeks into my trip, I met someone called Julie I was in the south of Vietnam at the time, and we met each other in a hostel. And we ended up forming a really, really close relationship, really close friendship, and just stuck together and travelled together for 6 weeks. And she was just amazing. She's from the Netherlands, and she was just one of the kindest people that I'd ever met. And I know it's easy to say that. People are always like, oh, you're the kindest person I've ever met. But she really, she had this skill of listening, which I've never, ever experienced in anyone else before. You know, you speak to people sometimes and you're like, oh yeah, I went to Cheltenham Literature Festival and saw this really cool event. And they're like, oh yeah, I did that one year as well, that's great. But Julie would be like, oh, tell me about that. I really listened to what you're saying and I want to know more, if that makes sense. It was just incredible. I learned so much from her in that sense. And when we first met, she asked me I was working in a cinema before I left, and she was like, "Oh, amazing! What's your favourite film?" I said, "Oh, it's probably Call Me by Your Name." I don't know if anyone's seen that film. It's such a beautiful film. I've only watched it once. I could never watch it again. I found it too upsetting, just distraught at the end of it. And it was her favourite film as well, so we really bonded over that. And this is a poem about Julie. It's called Julie and Imogen. Our favourite film is Call Me by Your Name. We talked across half of Asia over banh mi and piping pho about how it melted us down. That perfect story of the human heart becoming animal with passion, of throwing yourself into something with such certainty. To stop would be to betray every decision you have ever made. Or we talked through the slats of hostel bunks and worn coach seat leather until we became the dense Asian heat around us, and all we could do was throw our heads back at the beauty of it. Julie and Imogen. Didn't we cry at the end of that film? Watching the holes unfold on his face with tears, remembering riding bicycles through rice fields, singing, "Blessed be the mystery of love," like Call Me by Your Name. Thank you. It was really difficult saying goodbye to Julie at the end of that 6 weeks, and sadly, I've not seen her again since, because I suppose because we came back and lockdown happened, but also I think I was kind of scared that those kind of friendships are only built to last in those kind of situations. I don't know. Maybe we'll see each other again one day. We'll see. But it was really weird, like, coming home from that trip and just a few months later going into lockdown. Obviously, it was weird for everyone. I'm a very reflective person, I think. I really like to deeply reflect on experiences that I've had, and like, I always find New Year a really important time for me. I like to really think about the whole year that I've had and everything I've done and how I've grown. And I also really like to write letters to myself to read at a later date. So like on the plane when I left to go travelling, I wrote a letter to myself, and then I read it on the way back and wrote a response letter. And I think part of the reason why I do that kind of thing is because I'm not really very good at letting go of stuff, and I really like to cling on to kind of memories and experiences, and I'm not very good at saying goodbye to things. And that like really hit home when I came back, and then we went into lockdown, and it was just such like a stark contrast in lifestyles of traveling around and being like so free, and then suddenly can't leave my house, like, you know, same as everyone else. And so on the year anniversary of me going away, I kind of sat down and wanted to reflect on the year and what it had been like. And I ordered the first place I travelled to was Japan, so I ordered a Japanese takeaway because I wanted to like take myself back there and reminisce, I suppose. And I wrote this poem on that day as well. It's called "Stay Close, Let Go." Bowl of miso soup, tray of tempura, pot of soy sauce, 6 pieces of sushi, rice, prawn, tuna, salmon, octopus, chopsticks, red snapper, pickled ginger, wasabi paste. This time last year, I was on a night flight to Japan, trying to watch that film about billboards and Missouri, glugging pints of juice from a tiny cup, flying away from everyone I had ever known. A brave sakura, bursting my petals before last frost. I wasn't thinking about me now, eating a Japanese takeaway to reminisce. The food doesn't look the same. I don't have the right bowls. The plates are faded. The tray is too small. This is a celebration. I like to mark anniversaries with eulogies. Often, I don't want to let go. But now I must remember that bravery is the most real thing I can hold on to. Thank you. Just going to spit this. So it was weird. As I said, it was kind of strange coming home and like just having such a difference in lifestyle all of a sudden. And I know it was a really big difference to everyone, of course, going into lockdown. And I was kind of thinking about the best way to take care of myself. During that time, I really didn't want to like slip, if that makes sense. Just because it was a tough time on everyone and everyone's mental health, and I was thinking about the best way to take care of myself and keep myself afloat. And my boyfriend had been talking to me before that and at the time about the Noah's Ark story. Which I found really interesting. You've been sort of talking about it as an analogy or a metaphor for a way of kind of taking care of yourself and thinking about how that story applies to everyone, in that there's always going to be a flood coming, there's always going to be a storm. That's inevitable in everyone's life. And actually what you need to do is make sure that you have built yourself an ark to keep yourself afloat in that storm when the flood comes, which I just thought was so interesting, and a way that I'd never thought about that story before. And so I was thinking, okay, well, how do I build my ark? How do I make sure that I am prepared to keep myself afloat when these storms come, when these tragedies occur, because they always do. And so I was kind of thinking about the different planks of the arc. And actually, I originally named the pamphlet after this next poem, which is called Becoming Noah, because I felt like each individual poem in this book was kind of like a plank in my arc. So I'll read the poem, but it's called Becoming Noah, and it's kind of my thoughts on that, and trying to build myself an ark and a way to shelter myself from the storm. So, Becoming Noah. Prologue. Hell knows all hiding places. Hell invented them. That's what makes it hell. When the rain comes, and it will, the sand will not shelter your head. 1. There was something godly about it. Something definite about the way everything started to drip, how all the good china started to run and the animals became unusual. People were pinning bed sheets to the sky and coughing to hide the rumble. The sky was painted biblical. 2. I dreamt there were waves lapping at my bedroom window. We, dry as a strong face, quietly watched the world rush by. The flood pulled back into a beast and lunged at our house. We're going to die, I thought. We're going to be crushed and drowned. But the walls didn't quaver, and we held each other madly. 3. Once, I ran for the sky without learning to swim and lost the air. Now, I pull my socks up every morning and give a hard stare to the mirror. 4. I survived. My family survived. Everything unfinished died. Thank you. Ends on a bit of an intense note, that one. So I think as I say, I was thinking about this and how to build my arc. And I think the way I started to put it into practice, I got a bit of hair stuck there. There we go. Was kind of by, how do I word this? Like, sort of pushing myself to I guess, like, live well. Like, I was like, okay, come on now, you need to start exercising, you need to start eating well, and just, like, I suppose creating, like, self-control and discipline. I think I tried. And I was thinking about that and how I was trying to enforce that. I really was, and, like, by writing every day, which I've never kind of cracked before, never been able to do it. And I really started feeling the positive effects of it. And I was thinking about how by making myself do that and making myself write every day and just live well and live healthily, it was really difficult to do that. And there were times when I was like, damn, I really, really don't want to do this today. And I saw a similarity in that to how it felt before I went off traveling, and how I was so scared to go, and I'd never been anywhere by myself before, like out of the country, and I was absolutely terrified. And before I left, there was nothing I wanted to do less than go away, get on this plane by myself and go away. And it felt like that sometimes in getting myself to do this stuff. It's like, I just want to chill in bed and watch Netflix. I don't want to do this today. But by pushing through that resistance, I kind of was viewing it as like a gift to my future self, because it felt kind of sucked in the moment trying to get myself to do it, but I always felt the payoff, and I felt like I was saying to myself, like my future self, you're actually really worth doing this for, and I really care about you, and I want you to have a great life, and this is my gift to you, like I'm sacrificing this moment and I'm doing something that I really don't want to do for my future self, if that makes sense. Anyway, maybe the poem will say it better than that. But yeah, that was what I was thinking about, and I wrote this poem, which is called "What Meaningful Question Was Ever Answered Comfortably?" And it's sort of a reminder to myself to just keep pushing through when I'm scared to do something, and stick with it. It sounds a bit corny, doesn't it? But there we go. That's what I was thinking. So this is called What Meaningful Question Was Ever Answered Comfortably? 1. It's the edge, but we think it's nowhere. On this dead-end path we've been following, trying to answer some old question that everybody has on their lips. We tread the live wire of horror and excitement when we open our eyes, taste every answer. They tell us it will be suicide. We tell them it will be suicide. It's been so long, we can't recognize a love letter when we see one. 2, are we ready to feel every bone that our fabulous bodies beg us not to? Thank you. Yeah, questions. I was asking a lot of questions, I think, at the time, and now I'm a very questioning person. And on reflection, I think there's a lot of questions and a strong theme of questions throughout the whole pamphlet. And I was just kind of thinking one day, I've got a lot of questions, but actually, how many questions do I really want answered? Like, when you really think about it, you're like, oh, okay, what would I like to know about the world? Let me think of all these things I'd like to know about the world. But then actually, how much would I actually want to know? If I was given the power to just have the answer to every question I ever asked, what questions would I actually ask? So I made a list of every single question that I would genuinely want the answer to. It wasn't quite what I expected it to be, but this is what it is. This poem's called Things I've Thought Long and Hard About and Would Genuinely Like to Know the Answer to. Where did the baby from my Sylvanian family go? Does that film we made about a giant evil iguana still exist? How long does it take to film a series of RuPaul's Drag Race? When do they film reality TV confessionals? How do they make it sound like the contestants are talking about the action in real time? What do my organs look like? Why am I always bloated? Do I have any interesting family heritage, or is it really all just Welsh? Is it possible to build an edible garden like the one in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? And if it is, has anyone ever done it? And if not, why not? Should I dye my hair? Why do I get so many spots? Am I deficient in any vitamins or minerals? In the final scene of Call Me By Your Name, did Timothée Chalamet really cry like that, or did he use eye drops? That's it. That's the whole list of questions that I would genuinely like to know the answer to. Yeah, only 17 poems, and I managed to get Call Me By Your Name in there twice. My other favourite film is Shrek. I think it would have been quite a different pamphlet if I'd gone with that theme instead. Yeah. So let's have a look. Flick through, find the next one. I was so on that theme of questions and lockdown and thoughts in lockdown, I was kind of, did anyone get into the gardening hype during lockdown last year? Yeah, big guy. I've never done gardening before ever, and suddenly I had my veg patch, just getting all the, I did not get a very good crop, but I tried. Got little tiny beetroots, planted them too close together so they didn't actually grow properly. Got a couple of good pumpkins, that was good. I don't have a garden anymore, so that's stopped. But I really enjoyed it at the time. I think a lot of people are really enjoying like reconnecting with nature and getting back into that. And I certainly was. It's kind of the first time I've ever tried doing that. But then I really was feeling a lot of frustration how I'd go out there and like de-weed the vegetable patch, and then like 2 days later it would just be chaos again. Anyone else got that issue? Yeah. I was like, how? Why? And then I was like, oh, actually, maybe it's kind of weird for me to think like that and think like, how dare these plants grow here on my vegetable patch? Because it's kind of a weird thing to think about, like trying to control my garden like that. Like I am the ruler of this plot of earth, and nothing else may grow here. And actually, I'm not all that different from the stuff that's growing in my garden and the stuff that's growing in my vegetable patch. And I kind of view myself as something really different to the garden and nature in general, I suppose. But actually, I'm not, and I'm not better than it. And it has, I'm no better than any other part of what's growing out there. Yeah. So that's I wrote this. This is the title poem. It's called "We Are Animals, Don't Forget It," and it's sort of about that thought and that sudden like reconnection that so many people felt with nature, which seemed like really healthy and good for us. And as I said, was the first time I had engaged with that. So yeah, this is "We Are Animals, Don't Forget It." It's a man's world, and we are men. So we flex our God hands and march to our patches of garden, and we see no mirror, just chaos, waiting to be unraveled. We, who outwit paradise, who exceed it with our logic and order, our dress codes and Wi-Fi and borders and all the other shit we made up because we had the desire to, because we're not like other beasts. A wave breaks in the ocean and we say, I don't have time for this. A flower blooms and we say, a cloud passes and we say, a child is born and we say, a storm unfolds and we say, the tectonic plates shift beneath our feet and we slither back to our immaculate caves to breathe and piss and gorge and shit and wank and cry and fuck and laugh and sleep because we just can't help ourselves. And outside, the weeds cackle because they just can't help themselves, and we are pebbles on a cliff top, hurling ourselves over the edge. Thank you. Oh God, I did this like HIIT workout yesterday. Get me, it's the first time I've done any exercise in a long time, and every time I go down to get the water, it's like, the size. Just gonna do a little time check. Did someone shout? Okay, great. I will start to wrap it up a little bit. Okay, so, yeah, on that kind of theme, I was like, yeah, I'm not that different to all this stuff that's going on outside my window. I'm not that different from that. And with that thought in mind, I wrote this poem, which is called "Show Me the Boundary Between You and Everything." When your feet are a worn-down carpet, when your head is a curtain rail, when your waist is a tea-stained worktop, when you share your legs with a table, and your arms with a chair, and your hair with a toothbrush, when your lungs are rustling branches, and wind-swept laundry, and red-skied mornings, when there's a pond between your lips, and your hips are heaving walls, when there's a pear tree in your fingers, you are never alone. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, it was. Was anyone else like locked down in a I feel like I'm talking about lockdown a lot today. No one wants to be thinking about that anymore. But I was in a different house to my boyfriend, which I found quite difficult. As I'm sure a lot of people did, like, you know, just not being able to see your families for quite a long time, and it's been so nice to reconnect. Hopefully everyone has been able to reconnect now. I kind of dug this poem out, which was actually from a free write, just something I scribbled in a notebook, because I was trying to get some material from a different poem. And then I rediscovered it and was like, that's quite nice. I'm gonna put that in. Yeah, this is called Thank You. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Tom. Thank you for making songs and singing them to me even though you feel embarrassed to sing. Thank you for making me a game about how much you love me. Thank you for leaving me a smiley face plate of fruit on your pillow. Thank you for buying me thoughtful gifts. Thank you for my star map. Thank you for the book you made me. Thank you for my poems. Thank you for walking miles to see me. Thank you for telling me that everything is going to be okay. Thank you for listening. Thank you for telling me you love me. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for dressing up with me. Thank you for putting down the tent when I was messing around. Thank you for buying me food. Thank you for almost going ice skating with me. Thank you for coming to my gigs. Thank you for admiring my creativity. Thank you for being my hype man. Thank you for being so kind to my family. Thank you for smiling. Thank you for looking after yourself. Thank you for pouring your poetry into the world. Thank you for staying humble. Thank you for crying in front of me. Thank you for introducing me to your family. Thank you for introducing me to your friends. Thank you for dancing like you didn't give a fuck. Thank you for saying you'll drink less. Thank you for saying sorry. Thank you for bringing me breakfast in bed. Thank you for cooking me breakfast. Thank you for wanting to understand my body. Thank you for taking the time to understand my body. Thank you for loving in a way that allows me to be free. Thank you for being honest with me. Thank you for calling me. Thank you for asking me out. Thank you for laughing. Thank you for taking me to see Queen. Thank you for the spontaneity. Thank you for buying me flowers. Thank you for showing my writing to your family. Thank you for my card when I got the job. Thank you for being proud of me. I'm proud of you. Thank you for loving our love. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for running me baths. Thank you for washing me. Thank you for offering to take the sanitary towel out of my pants. Thank you for calling my doctor. Thank you for watching shit telly with me, even though you only like good telly. Thank you for helping me write those poems. Thank you for carrying my bag when my back is sore. Thank you for getting up early with me on your days off. Thank you for all the sleepovers. Thank you for changing your bed sheets. You should change them more often. Thank you. It's my last poem now, so thank you so much for coming and being with me on my first time reading from this. It's, just so lovely to be able to share it with people. And I think this kind of just captures how I felt at the end of this whole process of putting this together. And it's called I See Myself for the First Time Again. I drop seeds wherever I go. Throw spring on the ground and watch new life grow from the scrapings of my pockets. There are daffodils in my handbag, a nest of chicks behind my ear, cherry blossom in the bottom of my chest of drawers. Even when winter clings to my ribs, I pull garlands from my lips and find solace in the elbow of a speckled egg. Wherever I go, people dance. Wherever I step, flowers bloom. If there is a tree, I will climb it, command fruit from its branches. Leaves grow. Rivers thaw and flow. Pregnant women leave their clothes and follow me. The world appears to gently burst through its own skin. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for having me. Thank you.